Hi, Glenn at Beaver Labs again. Now that we've got this put together, all the wiring done, this being the core of the overall module, we'll start the assembly by putting those inside this frame here. So you can see all the parts on the table here, the motor and its wheels used to pull the card through, its corresponding idler wheel on the other side, and that's attached by means of some gears that go across to the other side to attach to this, which is attached to its idler wheel to pull the card through the rest of the way once it gets through these here. And this is the way the card goes through. Okay, so I'll try to get this put together. Okay, so that's step one. We got the sensor assembly installed between the two sides with the two screws on each side. Next we'll start sliding in the other components. Okay, I've completed reinstalling the electronics into the assembly, and I've been put wires attached to that board. Now I have to wire the other end of it. These 4 wires go to these 2 sensors here, which I'm putting connectors on the back, so they'll be wired to that. I have to route it so that the wires don't flop around and get caught as some kind of works there, yet give me enough of a loop to work with. That'll be a little challenging. The other end of it, the bulk of the wiring, are the other 12 sensors that are down here on these wires. These will come around in this fashion to attach to the Arduino, which will be lying beneath it down here, up a little bit farther. And attach to these points here, I've got a connector into the analog and power lines there, so that'll be the connector on that end of it. By looping it back over this way, it gives me, first of all, enough room to work with it, and secondly, the ability to detach this and pull it outside this way if I need better access. So that's the hope and that's the challenge, and let's see how we do. The work is progressing. I've got about half of the wires attached. This is the bottom of the sensor board. I kind of bundled them together with twist ties. It's a quick way of keeping them together. And wiring this connector here. When it's done, then I'll be able to put all this back together, bundling it a little bit better. Reassemble it, and then hopefully we'll be good to go. Well, there it is. The Arduino wiring is done. Kind of made a harness out of it with some twist ties. It gives me enough slack that I can bring it over this way, or I can bring it outside like that to work on it, or in its normal mounted position. This slides down on here. I just have to be careful and take care to get this harness in the middle so it doesn't interfere with the wheels on each side. But that looks doable. Looks like the length is probably going to work pretty well for that. I might have to bind a few other things if it's a problem. That just leaves wiring the sensors that read this wheel here. 2 slots on that. And that's this device that goes over that. It's got a sensor on one side and an LED emitter on the other, so I've got to wire these to, I made these little connectors on the back so I can pull that off for servicing if need be. Anyway, that's the last wiring, hopefully, before we start powering on and do some other testing. Okay, that's the complete wiring job. Showed you the harness before, but now I finished wiring these sensors on top. Pull this up, you can see it. You come up here to the back and these little connectors that I made. The sensors point between those, and that slides over the wheel and is able to read the slots or the holes there. So we'll put the rest of the screws back in, tune it up, and see if it electrically still works. Okay, now we have here an almost completely assembled unit. All the wheels are adjusted, hopefully. Motor is engaged. The only thing I don't have on is the battery holder on top, so I can see the guts inside here, and the power switch, which I haven't gotten yet. That'll be a power on-off and motor reversing switch. So let's see if this thing functions. So far so good. Let's put a card in. Oh, that's nice. Perfect. It fed in, didn't change the pitch of the motor at all. It tells me I've got the tension of the idler wheels adjusted right. It's enough to drag it through, but not so much that they're causing friction on each other and drag on the motor. So far so good. Now, we just have to attach this to the Arduino through the USB port. Also need to power this because these circuit boards in here, the LEDs are going to take more power than we can get powering through the USB. And then let the programming commence.